Alright, what is going on YouTube? And I am back with, drumroll please, it's been a long time. I know it's been a long time, but we are finally back with another episode of Quickscoping for Christ, which was a big series in the, middle stages of this channel. Towards the end of Season 1 of Sculling, or just, if my channel is Naruto, we were in the OG Naruto, now we're in Shippuden, and Quickscoping for Christ was how OG Sculling kind of came to its conclusion. That whole arc of my life ended with Duality 4. Now we're in Sculling Shippuden. Welcome, baby. And I started Quickscoping for Christ. I'm just going to give you a brief overview, because we're taking Quickscoping for Christ to entirely new heights on this channel. And I'm doing it all to, A, glorify God with the things that I have been given, and B, to hopefully spread some information and get the gospel and the message and the word out there in a way that I can, aligning with my skill set. And so I started Quickscoping for Christ originally as a series for clips that I knew weren't going to make it into Duality 2 at the time. That's when this started. Clips that were too good to be thrown away, but in my opinion, to me personally, but not good enough to make it into Duality 2. And so I was like, what can I call this series? Quickscoping for Christ, because I'm a man of God, I love the Lord, and by including Him in my name, I would be giving glory to God through the clips that I was hitting. And then around episode 12, I should say after episode 11, I started doing Bible readings as well, and I would compare the Bible verse I read to Call of Duty. Like I'd put it in Call of Duty terms, basically, what the passage said. So, just to rattle off an example, the Bible verse where Peter watches Jesus walk on water. He tries to follow Jesus. He starts at first, but then he focuses on the waves and not Jesus and starts to sink. I compare that to, in Call of Duty, when your shot's on, but you start focusing on the bad things going on in your match, you get tilted, you get shaken, and your shot starts to diminish. You don't hit clips anymore. You start to go negative. You start to, die. That's just an example. That's one analogy that I used to kind of get people to understand the Bible a little more in the Quickscoping for Christ series. I took a break from this series because I wanted to put more effort and quality into dive deeper into verses and parts of the Bible that were important to me. And I also wanted to kind of make sure that I was trying to use COD to spread the gospel, not use the gospel to gain followers on COD. That's very important to me, because I don't want to use the word for my own gains whatsoever. So I had to take some space and really make sure I wasn't doing that. I wasn't, but I just wanted to make sure, and now I know that. And I now have the means and the methods to ensure that that's not the case going forward either. Now, some of you might not believe in God at all, and that's okay. Enjoy the Call of Duty clips and listen to what to you probably sounds like some schizophrenic ranting and, some cryptid lore here. Enjoy that. I only ask that you keep an open mind and, you keep an open heart to the Holy Spirit, who will hopefully try to work His way in you. That might sound a little strange to you, but just bear with me here. Like I said, keep an open mind for me. If nothing else, just for me. And some of you might be more of a casual, you hear the word lukewarm Christian tossed around that much. I am not using that as a derogatory term here. It's about levels here, leveling up. Ascending forever or descending forever. Lukewarm Christian is just one spot on this infinite totem pole. So don't take that as a bad thing. Maybe you went to church a couple times on holidays and your grandparents told you stories, read you the Bible a little bit, or maybe you are a devout Christian who reads the Bible all the time, Maybe this is the #1 priority in your life, or maybe you're somewhere in between that spectrum I just wrote out for you. All of these are okay.
No.
There's something for you on this series, no matter, no matter where you are on that spectrum I just described. Right now, instead of going over random kind of verses of the Bible that have been speaking to me, I'm going to be covering the end times. I'm going to use everything I can gather about the cycles of history, different things that have happened through history, current events right now, hypothesizing where we're heading, and then comparing that to the Bible. The Bible's coming first, by the way. That's just, kind of going to be the end result of this series. But I'm going to be using an end time study in the Bible. Compare it with things going on now, things that have happened, patterns in history. And I'm going to be going over everywhere in the Bible, to my knowledge, that it talks about the end times, and kind of walk you guys through what that means. This is going to be a multiple-part series. I'm not just going to do this like a one long big video and try to sum up everything in one video. This is going to be a process. I'm going to break it into chunks, break it up into different parts in the Bible where it talks about the end times. The Bible talks about the end times as early as the very, very Old Testament, and then the prophets in the Old Testament, such as Daniel and Isaiah. And Jesus talks about the end times during his time in the earlier New Testament, the Gospels, and then at the very end of the Bible too, in Revelation, which really is a end times prophecy in the most confusing book in the Bible, pretty much objectively. So I'm going to be breaking all of that down to my knowledge for everyone. If you're more of a casual, lukewarm Christian, or even a non-Christian, your knowledge of the end times probably boils down to some of the following things. There's somebody called the Antichrist. There's a lot of natural disasters. There's something called the rapture, and there's the Jesus' second coming, where he comes back. That's probably, a pretty casual, basic understanding of the end times for non-believers, kind of lukewarm, middle ground followers of Christ, and even a lot of proficient followers of Christ, because I will say this: the prophecies of the end times are very confusing, they're very hard to understand, and they can cause doubt to the untrained mind of even strong Christians, because it's a lot to wrap your head around. There's a lot of wordage that doesn't make sense, and if something doesn't make sense to your current understanding of the Bible, you can ask yourself, was any of this even real? Don't worry, I'm coming from a humble place here. I'm coming from a place of somebody who was confused a lot about the Bible. Somebody that had a buttload of questions about a whole lot of different things. So I'm coming at you from a place that, I can relate to all of the confusion, all of the doubt. I was raised Christian my whole life. Pretty much from the time I was born. My parents did a great job at making sure that I got the word, but that absolutely doesn't mean that I haven't had doubts on a monthly basis about different, what does this mean? What does this mean? If this means this, it feels like it contradicts this, and is it all real? I have felt it all. Don't worry. And I also want to clarify by saying that I am not an expert. I am just a guy who took at least 20 minutes out of every single day to just read and study and try to acclimate myself with different areas of the Bible. In all different areas. I didn't just pick the ones that are most common and easiest to read. I am almost done with my entire read through of the Bible, and I have pretty much read most of it. I've read all of it. So none of this is something that you couldn't do too, is what I'm trying to say. 20 minutes every day. Most people have at least 20 minutes just to study one book. And so I am applying the knowledge that I have had through my whole experience as a young adult, as a young man, a young Giga Chad, and the knowledge I have been able to acquire from the Bible over 4 years of taking 20 minutes every day to read the Bible. Now I am trying to, and I've reread Revelation a lot of times, bear that in mind too, to try to get a deeper understanding of it. And also what I've absorbed through media and my study of the world around me. So, I could be wrong. I want to start by saying this. I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be a prophet. I don't claim to even be an expert in the law. I'm just a guy who studied this a lot because I'm interested in it, and I want to put my understanding out there in hopes that you too might understand or bounce back some new ideas, and that a general consensus of the end times is more understood, and it's not this kind of weird thing. It's like scary. It's kind of like a fear-mongering thing over here. Then over here it's like the end times aren't coming, so was anything in the Bible real? I'm here to kind of resolve those feelings in the way I'm most capable of doing. So without any further ado, here we go. This is important for me. This is very important for me to clarify going into this series, because Jesus warns about many false prophets in the end times. And the thing about false prophets is they won't always be this menacing gremlin of a person, you know, claiming to be Jesus or claiming to say one thing or another about Jesus. The thing that makes false prophets deceitful is that there will probably be a lot of grains of truth in things they say. They will probably produce results. Good things probably will come from some false prophets. And good intentions can be muddled in with false prophets. And false prophets their story doesn't always look the same. A false prophet can start with good intentions. A false prophet can have good intentions along the way. Dune speaks of this. I'll make a video also where I tie in the Bible to the fictional series, the sci-fi series Dune. Starts as a book. There is a David Lynch adaptation to Dune, and then there's the Denis Villeneuve or whatever adaptation with Timothée Chalamet. Paul Atreides is basically a metaphor for the Antichrist, and I can get into that and in the series and in a separate video. But I just want to come from a humble place, saying that I'm not claiming to be anything, so that, you know, a false prophet can be a false prophet without even knowing it. That's the whole plot twist of Dune. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but a false prophet can do a lot of good. They can do like false miracles, show false signs, but at the end of the day, there's something missing, and the fact that there is something missing, though they're claiming there isn't, that's what makes him a false prophet. That's what comes from the devil, and that's what paints an incomplete picture, which leads to a disaster. So just wanted to put that out there. Alright, as this episode comes to a close, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the table of contents kind of blueprint for the rest of the series, which I have spent a good amount of time kind of penciling out and determining what's going to be the most palatable for a viewer, because I love Revelation, but darn it, is it confusing. We are just covering Revelation, so I'm going to go over the table of contents and then close with a little prayer, a little blessing for everybody. So, episode 51 is where we're at right now. It is the intro and table of contents, and we're not going to talk about the prophecy of the Messiah, because as followers of Christ, we know that the Messiah has already come. That is not a component in the end times prophecy, but his second coming is. So, the second coming of the Messiah is something we'll cover later. So, we're at 51 right now. Chapter 52 is going to cover Isaiah. Isaiah gets his own chapter because it is such a long book of the Bible, and it covers a very broad scope of prophecies. 53 will be Ezekiel and Daniel, and those are the first kind of confusing visions of the end times we get in the Old Testament. Episode 54 is going to cover Joel, Amos, and Zechariah. Small little bits of those three chapters, because they're just kind of small mentions of end times prophecies. They can all be fit into one episode right before episode 55, where we have the gospel prophecies from Jesus himself. which cover signs of the end times that most people are familiar with, as they are spoken of by Jesus himself. That will cover Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Then we have our Old Testament middle chapters, where the apostles give us some prophecies of the end times. And that will be episode 56, and it'll cover 2 Thessalonians, 2 Peter, and 1 and 2 John. Then in episode 57, our Revelation study begins. I will lay out a Revelation blueprint and the letter to the 7 churches, the 7 living creatures, and the elders. This will cover Revelation chapters 1 through 5. Then in episode 58, we got the 7 seals, the 144,000 sealed elect, the Great Tribulation. This is in chapters 6 to 8. And this is where I personally think we are in the end times. In episode 59, we will cover chapters 9 through 11, which are the woes and the 2 witnesses. Chapter 60 will cover the dragon and the pregnant woman. Episode 61, we will be talking about the man of sin, who is commonly referred to as the Antichrist. That will be a very extensive episode, followed up by an equally extensive episode, episode 62, which is the beast out of the earth. And we will cover Dune, the false prophet, Mark of the Beast. That'll be a interesting episode for sure. 63 will be about chapters 14 to 16, covering the rapture. I say that in quotation marks because, well, you'll see why I say that. But it also covers the downtime in heaven where God is worshipped by the 144,000 and those who lost their lives during the Great Tribulation. And the 7 bowls of wrath. 64 will cover Mystery Babylon, the great prostitute, what that entails. Episode 65 will cover chapters 19 and 20, the end of the world and the new beginning. Episode 66 will cover the New Jerusalem and the closing thoughts on Revelation. And then from there we will see what we have in light of the end times in our current situation. So I'm going to close with a prayer real quick and then turn you guys loose because this video is already super long. So, alright. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for this platform to share information about you and about the word that you've left us with. Please protect all of us as the end times ensue and strengthen our faith during it. And lastly, please let us hit some great clips on Call of Duty, as it is very important to us, and help us use our skills to give glory to you. In your name I pray, amen. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like. And I love you guys. God bless y'all. Peace out. And I will see y'all next time.